The UFC is never going to allow another fighter under contract with them inside their promotion become anything like a Conor McGregor. Ladies and gentlemen, in this video, I want to highlight an opinion and an idea that I have regarding the UFC and their superstars and the different fighters that they have under the roster, and the Conor McGregor experiment that the UFC at one point used for money and fame and kind of went along with the train to now realizing I don't think it's something they're ever going to do again, right? We see fighters like an Ilia Topuria, like a Sean O'Malley, who the UFC really is pushing, right? They have a popular following on social media. They have a country behind them. Whatever it may be, we've seen kind of the new age of superstars burst onto the scene inside the UFC. But the way that the UFC is going about building them up is quite a bit different than the run that Conor McGregor went on. Now, it's important to keep in mind that these fighters are not Conor McGregor, right? They're not, as brash. They don't have the same type of things that Conor McGregor brought to the table. But what really took Conor McGregor to that next level was obviously the whole Mystic Mac and I predict these things and, saying that he's going to knock somebody out with a left hand in the first round, going out there and do it. Like, we've seen fighters talk a big game and try to back it up to replicate what Conor has done. But in my opinion, we are never going to see a fighter under the UFC banner that is under contract with them cross over and fight in a boxing match ever again. And the reason for this being, the UFC wants controlled superstars. They want Sean O'Malley. They want Ilia Topuria. They want guys that are guys that they can control like a puppet. They don't want them to be so big to where the point that they have way too much influence that they're almost bigger than them and bigger than the sport, which is essentially what has happened with Conor McGregor. And at first, the UFC was sitting back there like, this is great. Conor McGregor's bringing all these eyeballs to the sport, which I feel like as fight fans, we're all grateful for, right? I mean, I don't think we're hating on that. But the reality is, Conor McGregor is now someone that the UFC can no longer control, right? Yes, they have him under contract, but he can cause a stir. He can cause a stir. And whatever he says and decides to do carries a lot of weight, and people it draws in the casual eye, and it holds a lot of weight to where now, with guys like Ilia Topuria, with Sean O'Malley, they can control them. They can say, lick our feet, and they probably will, right? They're not going to really step out of bounds, and they don't have the same type of influence as Conor McGregor. So my point to you is what we've seen Conor McGregor accomplish inside the UFC and now outside of the UFC. It's not to say that that's impossible. I don't think that we're going to see it to this level ever again inside the UFC, and that is going to be because the UFC is not going to allow a fighter to do so. Now, they may go out and start their own businesses, but what really launched Conor McGregor as well was the boxing match with Floyd Mayweather, right? A lot of that was timing, a lot of that was different variables, but that's really what took Conor McGregor to the next level. And I know we hear Sean O'Malley saying, I want to box Devin Haney, I want to box Ryan Garcia. Topuria's like, I want to box Canelo, or all these different things. Mark my words, it will never, ever, ever happen again, as long as they are signed to the UFC, right? We've seen Nate Diaz and Francis Ngannou fight out their UFC deals and go box these big names or do some sort of boxing match. Like, we have seen that. But guys that are signed to the UFC, that are currently active and fighting. I know Jorge Masvidal's technically retired, but they're allowing him to do boxing matches because he's still, under a UFC contract. You're never going to see the UFC allow a fighter who is an on-the-rise star go box a big-name boxer, because eventually they're going to make a bunch of money in boxing to now where their head even goes, boo, even bigger. The businesses, all the side things that they're able to build up along the way, it now creates a dynamic in a scenario where you cannot control that fighter anymore. And the UFC, as much as we love the UFC, guys, I got a UFC shirt on right now. We love the UFC. It allows us content creators and, folks out there who love the sport to watch it damn near every weekend. So we are grateful for that. But they're a business at the end of the day, and we know the ego that they have. I think in our lifetime, we are not going to see the UFC allow a fighter under the UFC banner cross over and take on a big boxing match anytime soon. And they want controlled superstars that they can control the narratives. They cannot allow them to get so big. Don't let them get big to where it helps the UFC and benefits their pockets and also benefits the athlete to a degree. But to get to that McGregor status, I understand that not everybody's Conor McGregor. But to help them out by giving them a big boxing match while under a UFC contract, don't think it ever happens again. But I want to hear from you all down in the comments. Like this video. Comment your thoughts below. Do you agree with me? Do you think that this is a reach? Subscribe to the channel. Help your boy out. I would appreciate it. See you next time.